once we eventually break this all-time high, hype should enter into discovery mode, where it has room for a massive expansion above these all-time highs. Jian, welcome back to Weekly Chart Request, where we take your crypto submissions, breaking down the market structure, as well as planning scenario analysis moving forward and how you can profit from the asset of your choice. So I would highly recommend for those who are watching this video and want to get involved to simply join the Lambo Launch server. The link is in the description. So let's get straight into the submissions, starting off with BTC as usual. The market bias is neutral. The key takeaways was the same as last week, where we had a sweep of the Feb lows denoted by the green arrow. And over the past week and a half, what we have seen is the daily structure starting to build with higher highs and higher lows, which is a very positive sign. And the second point to keep in mind is that relief rally, which is imminent to start mitigating some of these supply that were left on this breakdown of BTC. So this bearish expansion towards these lows. There were supply zones, of course, as you can see from the chart, which were left behind. And at some point, the expectation is for these to be mitigated before a macro consolidation, where I'm expecting over the next few months for BTC to start bottoming out. So not to get ahead too far, for now, what we are watching for BTC is this market, this Feb lows. We want to stay above that and start consolidating if we are expecting this rotation back to these local highs for now. So I will keep it simple for BTC and move on to the next submission, which is for hype. So this was included in last week's chart request, where we mentioned two possible scenarios whilst we were trading at the range high. Scenario one was to close multiple candles within range, and the target on the back of that would be this demand zone below and point of control. Or scenario two would be a reclaim of this range high and to start consolidating above, which will allow that expansion to occur. Moving on to this week, the market bias has now switched to bullish for hype, as we are starting to see scenario two to play out. So we've seen that reclaim of the range high and the rotation back to this all-time high. What we want to see moving forward for hype is consolidation above this range high, which would be a very positive sign. And once we eventually break this all-time high, hype should enter into discovery mode, where it has room for a massive expansion above these all-time highs. One thing to denote, of course, is this possible swing pattern failure. So as we can see, after the reclaim of the range high, what we have seen is price rotating back to this all-time high. And on initial reaction from that, we have seen a swing pattern failure potentially setting up. However, I would not think too much into that, as demand has stepped in as of now, immediately on this pullback, which is a very good sign. So moving forward for hype, what I'm expecting is consolidation and expansion above the all-time high. And you can trade that based on your own systems. Of course, taking that bias, from my opinion, I think is bullish, as long as we stay above this range high. Moving on to Solana, which currently is in the neutral market bias. And the key takeaways for Solana is that in terms of spot bags, we are at extreme discount. And if you think about the full cycle play, these prices of between $60 and $70 for Solana is a very good entry, if you ask me, but you can make your own mind up on that. The key takeaway also is that we have swept this February lows. We have seen a reclaim of that and a retest, which has held. So this is very positive news for Solana. Now moving forward, we need to see consolidation for that eventual rotation back to these highs. So for Solana, the key level to watch is that Feb low, of course. The same as BTC, that Feb low is very important, and you want price to stay above that. And once we start seeing this consolidation play out, so once we see the price action, you can then identify based on that if it is accumulating for that rotation, or it will be a redistribution after this breakdown, which will lead to another leg down further. So it's just a case of waiting for price action to play out. But again, I would reiterate that we are at extreme discount prices instead of in terms of spot positions. So it's important to keep that in mind on the macro. Last but not least, we've got SPCX. So the key takeaways for this, at the moment, the market bias for me is neutral. So after this pullback into this demand zone, we've seen a nice reaction initially on that first touch. However, I do want to see more price action. So this is the 4-hour chart. I do want to see 2-3 weeks of price action for SPCX to determine what potentially could happen moving forward, of course. But I would just on this initial basis say that this demand zone is a key level to hold. So what you want to see is consolidation above that for SPCX, and that would be a very positive sign in terms of this pullback, finding that bottom before we see any rotation back to the high. So any kind of consolidation above this 170 mark is very positive for SPCX. I know this is not a very in-depth analysis, of course, but there's not much price action to go off. And the only thing, of course, is this demand zone, which I will be monitoring moving forward.